Hello Ottawans and Ottawans from around the globe. Today we're going to be going over 8 things you missed on your first playthroughs of Humankind. These are small and tiny mechanics you could have possibly overlooked during your first playthrough. Leveraging these minute details and factoring them into your decision making could change the course of history as we know it. So let's get into it. Number 1. Getting a free city. You have a few options when dealing with an independent people. You can spend tons of gold and influence trying to assimilate them. You can amass a massive army in an attempt to enslave them by force. Or you could just keep an eye on them and walk a simple scout into their city center. When an independent people is small, they'll spawn units immediately and send them out into the world to do some exploration. But if there's 0 people in the city, they don't put up a fight. You can walk right in with your smallest unit. Take a look at this independent city here. I straight up have my first level scouts and I can walk them right into the city. All of a sudden, the city flips to me.
Hey, that's pretty good.
At this point in the game, this would have been my 3rd city. And although the placement's not ideal, I saved over 580 influence.
Worth over $15,000 in savings.
It pays to scout the area out well and keep an eye on independent people. Number 2, disbanding units. Now, this is a pretty straightforward one, but it's actually super helpful. If you don't know, you can actually run your units into the city limits and go ahead and disband them. This will add 1 extra population to your city. Over time, that extra population can contribute to food, industry, and most importantly, influence. This is key in the early game. This could also be useful when transferring population from one city to another. While you don't want to leverage this too much and hamper one city, it could be a great way to kickstart a second city you've just stolen. Number 3, defying the fog of war. This one's a rather small tip, but might get you out of a hairy situation. You can actually look to see where your units are going to be moving in the fog of war, and it will automatically prompt you to show you if there's a unit there and you'll be getting into battle. You can see here, I'm about to move my scouts down and around this mountain. All of a sudden I noticed there's an enemy scout waiting for me in the fog of war. While this specific situation wasn't that critical, this ultimately can contribute to different decisions on where to move your scouts and how to optimize your gameplay. Number 4, leveraging civics exactly when you need them. You'll see here, I was a little overzealous in joining this fight. I could have retreated, but I didn't. Mistakes were definitely made. I'm trying to match up and see how I'm actually going to come away with a victory in this case. I take a look at my scouts, and they're at 14 combat strength. I take a peek at the enemy scouts, and they're at 16. The only reason for this could be that they chose the army composition civic, basically giving them a +1 combat strength on a unit. I'm trying to turn the tide of war here and at least squeak away without a loss. Mid-fight, I open up the civic screen, go ahead and enact professional soldiers, and all of a sudden my units have a +1. I was able to squeak out a victory on this one thanks to leveraging this civic and the enemy being a bit ridiculous. Number 5, changing your movement mid-turn. As you know, you should always be moving 1 tile at a time because you never know what will show up in the fog of war. But not everyone's perfect, including myself. You'll see here I get a bit lazy and try and plop down my city in 1 turn. But then I notice there's a food curiosity that pops up. Seeing it's near a river, it's likely near some freshwater delights, and I can't help myself.
Anything you'd like to eat?
Freshwater
Delight?
I try and change my movement down 1, but I actually misclick and hit behind me. You'll see that my units stop going from where they originally were and move mid-turn back. There's no doubt blunders were made here. But it does demonstrate you can change your unit's movement mid-turn. It's not locked in like other games. Keep this in mind, and hopefully you have those quick Osu fingers you can move your units should something arise. Number 7, buying districts to help with stability. This is a cool little tip if you're actually having trouble with stability. As you know, your stability should always be in the 90% and up range. If you're lower than that, you're going to start seeing diminishing returns on your influence. 1 population in a stable city, which is 90% plus stability, makes 2 influence per turn. Say you're having influence problems and you still have a ton of the map that isn't settled. Well, you can settle in a territory with some strategic resources, like so, and plop down your outpost. As soon as the outpost is finished being created, you can go ahead and spend your influence to immediately get these resources online. This will give you a quick boost to your science and a boost to stability empire-wide. If you can get your stability above 90%, this will improve your influence output. Do you see the cycle here? Number 8, last but not least, let's talk about infrastructure. I specifically want to talk about the forge and animal barns. You'll see that animal barns has +5 food per horse. Similarly, the forge has +5 industry per copper. But I bet you didn't know this bonus is per city on resources that are empire-wide. Let me explain that. If we look around our empire here, you see Ottawa has 1 copper, Shawinigan has 1 copper, and Drummondville also has 1 copper. However, you'll see here in Tree Rivers, we're getting a +15 production from the forge. If we look here in Ottawa, you'll see another +15 infrastructure from the forge. 15 production on a 40 production city. That means there was a 60% increase to production when we went from 25 to 40 from one simple forge. As always, a huge thanks for watching. I'm still a super small channel, so it really helps me out if you smack that like button and hit subscribe. If you have any comments or additional tips and tricks you found on your own you want to discuss, throw it in the comments below and I'll reply to each and every one. Thanks so much.